The Rockets were supposed to be the fun league pass team, young, exciting, and still a couple years away. Instead, 30 games into the season, they're sitting near the top half of the West with one of the best records Houston has seen since the title years. And they've done it by bullying teams on the glass and torching them with one of the league's most efficient offenses. Kevin Durant, in his late 30s, on his fourth franchise, was supposed to be a desperate swing, not the centerpiece of a contender. Yet he's giving the Rockets roughly 26 points per night on elite efficiency. Next to him, Alperen Şengün has leveled up into a full-blown offensive hub, averaging around 22 points, 9 rebounds, and 6+ assists, turning Houston's half-court into a nightmare of post touches, kickouts, and mismatches. When you add Amen Thompson's downhill pressure, Jabari Smith Jr.'s 37% three-point shooting on real volume, and Reed Sheppard bombing away at over 40% from deep, you start to understand why defenses look completely overwhelmed against this team. This is a roster that out-rebounds opponents, lives at the free throw line, and sits near the top of the league in both scoring and overall efficiency. So what happened? How did a rebuilding team turn into a legit problem for the Western Conference basically overnight? This is a deep dive on why the 2025-26 Houston Rockets look different and why the rest of the NBA has to take them seriously now. There was a time not long ago when the Houston Rockets were the textbook rebuilding team. A pile of draft picks, a losing record, and a young core that lived more in potential than in playoff conversations. Alperen Şengün, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, and now Reed Sheppard had Rockets fans dreaming about the future, but the expectation around the league was simple: a fun and young squad, but not a problem in May. Then Houston detonated the timeline. In the summer of 2025, the Rockets jumped into what became one of the largest trades in NBA history. A 7-team monster that sent Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks out and brought Kevin Durant and Clint Capella to Houston. Overnight, a team built on patience flipped into a win-now operation with a first-ballot Hall of Famer dropped right into the middle of one of the league's best under-25 cores. What looked risky on paper, adding a 37-year-old superstar to a young roster, now looks like one of the boldest, smartest bets in the league, as the Rockets sit at 22-11 and 5th in the West to start the year off. However, if the trade was the spark, Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün are the engine that makes this version of the Rockets almost impossible to guard. Durant, in his first full season in Houston, is putting up about 25.7 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 4.6 assists per game on absurd efficiency. Over 52% from the field, 40% from three, and nearly 90% at the line. In the league, that's a top-tier offensive centerpiece who can still get to his spots whenever he wants. Next to him, Şengün has made the full leap from intriguing big to a legitimate all-star level hub. He's averaging roughly 21.8 points, 9 rebounds, and 6.5 assists per game, while shooting just over 51% from the floor and functioning as the primary playmaker out of the post and elbows. Houston runs a ton of offense through his touch at the high post, handoffs, backdoor cuts, and kickouts, which forces defenses to send help or watch him carve them up one by one. The real problem for opponents is that there is no good coverage that takes away both guys at the same time. If you double Şengün on the block, Durant is spaced on the perimeter or cutting into open mid-range pockets, and his man can't afford to leave him. If you load up toward Durant in isolation, Şengün gets to operate 4-on-3 with shooters and cutters everywhere, which is exactly where his passing shines. Add in the fact that both players get to the free throw line consistently, helping Houston build one of the stronger free throw profiles in the league, and you start to see why this duo has turned the Rockets into a half-court scoring machine. What really makes Houston terrifying is that the damage doesn't stop with Durant and Şengün. The supporting cast is perfectly built to punish every defensive mistake. Amen Thompson is averaging around 18 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 5.2 assists per game, shooting over 51% from the field and constantly collapsing defenses with his straight-line drives and transition pushes. When he turns the corner, weak side defenders have to tag the roller or protect the rim, which opens up clean looks for Houston shooters. Jabari Smith Jr. has quietly become the exact kind of modern forward this roster needs, putting up about 15.5 points and 6.9 rebounds a night while hitting 37.4% of his threes on more than 6 attempts per game. He spaces the floor in 5-out looks and guards multiple positions on the other end, making it much harder for opponents to hunt mismatches. Then there's Reed Sheppard, who's giving Houston 13.2 points in just 25.7 minutes per game and drilling 41.4% of his threes on 6.2 attempts. Elite movement shooting that punishes any help off the strong side. Even off the bench, guys like Tari Eason are shooting the lights out. Eason is at 48.8% from deep on significant volume, and veteran guards such as Aaron Holiday and Josh Okogie are hovering around or above 40% from three. Surround elite isolation scorers with this level of shooting and downhill pressure, and every double team or late rotation turns into 3 points. The other place where the Rockets look completely different from past seasons is in the areas that hurt opponents the most: the glass and the free throw line. As a team, Houston is pulling down about 48.8 rebounds per game, one of the better marks in the league, and they're especially punishing on the offensive boards. Alperen Şengün is grabbing 9 rebounds a night on his own, but the real edge comes from stacking bigs. Steven Adams and Clint Capella come in and keep the pressure on. Adams, for example, is averaging 8.5 rebounds in just 22 minutes per game, including 4.4 offensive rebounds, making him one of the most dominant per-minute offensive rebounders in basketball. Every extra possession matters when your offense is this efficient, and Houston turns those second chances into threes, fouls, or layups with ruthless consistency. On top of that, the Rockets live at the free throw line. Durant's foul-drawing craft, Şengün's physical post-game, and Amen Thompson's downhill attacks combine to give Houston a strong free throw attempt profile and a noticeable FTA edge over opponents in many games. When you're already one of the higher-scoring teams in the league, adding extra possessions and easy points from the stripe is basically a cheat code, and it's a big reason their offensive rating sits near the top of the NBA this season. While most of the attention is on the players, all of this talent works because of Ime Udoka, who has leaned into a very specific identity that fits this roster perfectly. Unlike the old Moriball Rockets that spammed threes and lived on drive and kick, this team actually ranks on the lower end of the league in passes per game, but still posts a top-tier offensive rating. This sounds counterintuitive until you realize where the ball is stopping, in the hands of 2 of the most efficient isolation scorers at their positions, surrounded by shooters and cutters who know exactly where to be. Houston runs a ton of controlled isolation through Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün, Durant from the wings and elbows, Şengün from the high post and the block, and the numbers back up how effective it is. With the floor spaced by guys like Jabari Smith Jr. and Reed Sheppard, Udoka doesn't need 25 passes to generate a good shot. Defensively, Udoka has them playing like a classic tough, switchable team with more versatility than people expected. Houston sits in the upper tier of the league in defensive rating, with length at almost every position and the ability to toggle between coverages depending on matchup. They switch a lot in man, use their big wings to keep ball handlers in front, and with multiple strong rebounders behind the play, they don't give up many clean second chances. That combination of a top-tier offense and a legitimately strong physical defense is exactly why this doesn't feel like a fluky hot start. Right now, this new look is no longer just a fun team to watch. Remember, the Rockets sit at 22-11, firmly in the top half of the Western Conference, and they've done it against a schedule that already includes multiple games versus projected playoff teams. Their point differential and efficiency numbers line up with what you'd expect from a team closer to the contender tier than the cute rebuild tier. Stack them up against the rest of the West, and the case gets interesting. Denver still has Nikola Jokic and a championship core that knows exactly how to win in May and June. Oklahoma City brings waves of young legs, shooting, and an elite defense that many analysts had near the top of the league coming into the year. There are still real questions. Can Durant's body hold up through 70-plus games and a deep playoff run at this usage? Will the shooting from guys like Reed Shepherd and Tari Eason stay this hot when defenses game plan for them over a 7-game series? And how will Şengün hold up defensively when teams ruthlessly target matchups in the postseason? What's clear is that for the first time in years, asking whether the Rockets can actually win a playoff series, or more than one, is a serious question, not a punchline. So when you watch the 2025-26 Rockets, you're not just seeing a young team having fun. You're seeing a group that defends, rebounds, and executes like it expects to still be playing when the weather gets warm. With Kevin Durant closing games, Alperen Şengün running the offense, and a wave of fearless young role players spacing the floor and crashing the glass, Houston finally looks like a problem the rest of the West has to game plan around every single night. Do you think this version of the Rockets can actually break through and win the West, or are they still one piece away? Drop your take in the comments, hit like if you think Houston is for real, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this Rockets season.